Good morning, Minister. Thank you very much for this time, and it's really a pleasure for us to welcome you for this interview on the new social contract.
Thank you.
What key challenges does Barbados face in adapting its labor policies to the evolving world of work, and how, as the ministry, you are addressing them?
The challenges, we could say that one of these challenges could be the matter of dispute resolution, increase litigation, involvement, moving away from collective action to individual action, and rather than using trade unions, using attorneys. That is a development that we are not particularly thrilled about. We strongly believe in collective bargaining, the freedom of association, collective bargaining, and we believe that trade unions have a role. But in addressing the issue, we've created the Employment Rights Tribunal, which is intended to create that space that allows workers to access justice, workers and employers. But we focus on workers mainly because workers are mainly those who bring those challenges to the Employment Rights Tribunal. So the matter of access to justice and dispensing justice is one that we are dealing with. We are actually in the process of moving to a partially full-time tribunal system. It used to be part-time, but we have a backlog. So that's one of the challenges, and we face our challenges. We acknowledge what the challenges are. We face them, so we're in the process now of moving toward a full-time tribunal. There is also the matter of technology and what technology does to the world of work. Platform economy is one of those things. You're almost sometimes governed by algorithms in that space. There's also the matter of the gig economy. We have not done anything specific in terms of our policy stance yet, but Barbados had the privilege of chairing the tripartite meeting of experts at the ILO a couple of years ago on decent work in the platform economy. I actually chaired that committee, and we intend to participate in the upcoming normative discussion at the International Labour Conference in June, and that we will use to help to guide what we do with respect to the technology. We are watching. Since then, artificial intelligence has become the buzz, and we are also watching that and see how we can incorporate it. We, as a country, never want to lose benefits from advances in technology, but we have to make sure it is human-centered.
In your opening speech, you talk about the critical importance of social dialogue and the role of the government to lead the social dialogue. How can the ministry ensure that social dialogues lead to concrete actions that balance the interest of both workers and employers in response to the changing work dynamics?
Well, first, the outcome of the social dialogue structure system has to be reflective of the views of the social partners and government. So the outcome, if in our case, if it is a protocol or a decision in terms of how we address COVID-19, for example, because we did that as social partners, or what we call the social partnership. Whatever we do has to be what is agreed at the social dialogue table. And when we do that, then we are sure that the outcomes are the result of the dialogue and that they're beneficial. Because what is agreed is what the partners have agreed, so that everybody's interest is represented, and at the outcome is a demonstration of that interest. I'll give an example. In 2018, government, because of the difficulty that we found when we came into office, took a decision not to pay a debt payment, international debt payment. No country likes to do that. But we came together as a social partnership, made the decision that it was in the absolute best interest of the country to default on our debt at that point. And we gathered together with the Prime Minister, and the announcement was made to the world. Not one that we were proud of, but the strength of the social partnership underpinned by social dialogue was such that the IMF, just a couple of hours after, issued a statement supporting Barbados' decision to default. So it showed that the social partners, they recognized that the social partners saw this development negative on the face of it, but one that all the partners recognized was in the best interest of each of them, and so in the best interest of the nation overall. So the government has that leadership role, leadership responsibility. And in the Barbados context, the chair of the social partnership is the Prime Minister, the head of government. It is not relegated to anybody else. It is the Prime Minister. So we take it that seriously. And the three principal officers are the three principal offices: the head of the trade union movement, the head of the employers or the private sector association, and the head of government. And that is how seriously we take the social dialogue, the social partnership, and making sure that the interests of all is captured in all of the decisions that are made.
Honorable Minister, as you may know, there will be a very important rendezvous in 2025, which is the second World Summit for Social Development in Qatar in November. What recommendations would you offer to strengthen the role of the ILO and its constituent in shaping a new social contract?
The ILO must be insistent that policies, national policies, even regional policies, can only be sustainable if there is input from the various segments of society. We have to have reached a certain level of maturity to recognize that governing is not about governments just taking decisions based on a cabinet or a leader of government. If it is to be sustainable, if there is to be buy-in from those who these policies are intended to serve, then they must be at the table. They must make the contribution. The ILO is structured in that way. It recognizes that international standards, for example, can't be government standards. They can't be workers' standards. They can't be employers' standards. They must be standards that are formed and developed when they all come together and develop the standard. And so that human-centered approach must be brought to bear as the social contract is formed. And the ILO is the seat of that understanding. It is, we call it the home of social justice. And so there must be a certain insistence, because we should not be naive to believe that people will just say, okay, yes, the ILO, you please come. We have to be probably aggressive. We have to agitate. We have to make sure that we are in the spaces. And so that space in Qatar in November is one where the ILO must be present, very visible, and making its voice heard. It also, in order to convince and to convert, I would say maybe skeptics, be able to demonstrate the benefit of that approach, of the human-centered approach. I indicated earlier that the world is going toward populism, a rightward turn. We must bring back to the world the understanding that human beings inhabit the world and that we are social beings. We rely on each other. We are interdependent. And so that approach to life, to living, and to national development must be brought to bear, and the ILO is well placed to bring that to the fore at the World Social Summit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for this insightful conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.